Good evening, everyone. In the last session, we started our discussion related to Spring annotations. Can you tell me what are the annotations we discussed? We discussed at the rate configuration, at the rate component, service, repository, scope, auto void, bean. What is configuration? It is used to represent Java class as a configuration class. What is at the rate component? To represent Java class as Spring Bean class. What is a service? To represent Java class as a Spring Bean. What is repository? Same. That is also used to represent Java class as a Spring Bean. What is the scope? Scope is used to represent scope of the Spring Bean. What is the default scope of the Spring Bean? We have singleton. And what is the auto void? It is used to inject dependent into target. What is the bean? Bean is used to customize the bean object creation. Perfect. What is the component scanning? Yes, it is used to identify bean classes available in the project. By default, it will scan in the current package. Along with the current package, it will scan the sub packages also. If every package is starting in that Ashok ID is my base package. In that base package, my config class is available. For that config class, I will use two annotations. One is @ configuration. Another one is component scan. @ configuration represents it is a configuration class. Component scan means in this package, scan for the classes which are represented as a Spring Bean and create the object. After this package scanning is completed, it will scan other packages which are starting with in.ashok IT. So in.ashok IT is our base package. Along with that package, it will scan the beans package, DAO package also, and it will create the objects for those classes. Perfect. Now here, let us take car class is available, and here we have some chip class is available. Car is available and chip is available, and along with that, we are having a class called beans class. In this, there is a robot class is available. Now here, let me remove all these things. Later point of time, we will do that. So here we are having a robot class. Can I call robot is a Spring Bean? Yes. How can I say robot is a Spring Bean? Because component. Chip. Can I say chip is a Spring Bean? @ component. What about car? Car is also a component. Spring Bean. @ configuration. For this also, object will be created. Let me write the 0 param constructor for config class also. System.out.println app config constructor. System.out.println app config constructor is available. Go for app.java. In the app.java, I'm starting my IOC container using annotation config application context. Now, let's run this application, run as Java application. Now, can you see here what happened? Bean definition registry, it is saying that class not found. Let me do maven update app config package is there. Let me do project maven update the project. Maven update the project. Yes. In the morning session, we deleted Spring dependency from local repository. So that's why that project was not able to execute. So now run this application, go to app.java, right click, run as Java application. Now see, for app config class constructor is executed, car class constructor is executed, chip constructor, robot constructor, user DAO constructor also executed. Now in the car, I will specify one annotation @ scope. I'm specifying one annotation called @ scope. So here I will specify the scope as prototype. Now earlier when I run my application for car class also object got created. Now run as a Java application. For the car, object is created or object is not created? Object is created or not created? Not created. Why object is not created for the car? Scope is prototype. When the object will be created for prototype bean, whenever we call the get bean method, then only object will be created. So even when we go for annotations in the component scanning, it will identify the spring beans which are having singleton scope. For the singleton beans, object will be created. For prototype beans, object will be created when we call the get bean method. Are you guys getting my point? Fine. Next, here guys, I'm creating one class with a name called engine. I'm creating a class with a name called engine. In the engine class, I want to write a constructor, engine constructor, system.out.println, system.out.println, I will specify engine constructor. Okay, I will run my application, run as Java application. For engine, object is created. For engine, object is not created. Object is not created. Why the object is not created? Why the object is not created? Engine is a normal Java class. It is not a Spring Bean. Now, I don't want IOC to create the object. I want to create the object. I want to consider that as a Spring Bean. How can I do that? By using @bean method. Now go to this config class. Here, I will write one method, public engine get engine. Public engine get engine. Here I will write engine eng is equal to new engine and return eng. So here I am writing the method to create the object for the engine. I want IOC container to call this method. In the configuration class, I am writing a method. That method is used to create the engine object and return the engine object. How to tell IOC to call this method? By using one annotation called @bean annotation. Observe one difference. Here, component, service, repository, these annotations are class level annotations. But bean I am using at the class level, bean I am using at the method level. Bean annotation I am using at the method level. When I use the component at the class level, IOC container will create the object for the class. In this scenario, engine is a Java class. I want to represent the engine as a Spring Bean, but IOC should not create the object. I want to create the object because I have some special requirement. I have some special requirement here. My logic will be available. I will create the object and I will return that object. As I am creating the object and returning the object, IOC container should call my method. If IOC want to call my method, I am writing @bean. Are you able to follow me? Now, let's go here and run the app class, run as a Java application. Engine constructor is executed or not? Engine constructor is executed. How engine constructor is executed? Because of this method. Suppose if I remove the @bean, if I remove @bean, this method will be called or method will not be called? This method will not be called. Right click, run as Java application. Engine constructor executed or not executed? Not executed. So if I want to customize the bean object creation, then I can write a method. For that method, I can write @bean. Then IOC container is going to call this method. In the project, database connections I want to customize, security I want to customize, Swagger configuration I want to customize. When you want to customize the object creation in the project, then you can go for @bean annotation. Are you able to follow me? Yes, I hope you got the clarity on configuration. To represent one Java class as a configuration class, we will go for @configuration annotation. What is a component? What is the purpose of component? To represent Java class as a Spring Bean class, we will go for @component. What is @service? To represent Java class as a Spring Bean class, we will go for @service. What is repository? To represent Java class as a Bean class. What is @scope? To represent scope of the Spring Bean. What is auto void? To inject dependent object into target object. What is bean? To customize bean object creation. This is method level annotation. That annotation we were using at the method. That method will create the object and return the object. IOC container will consider that as a Spring Bean object. Clear, guys? Now, when we start the project with the app configuration class, it will scan for the Spring Beans in the current package. That current package is called as base package. It will scan the base package. It will scan sub packages of the base packages also. That means any package which is starting with in.ashok.it will be considered as a sub package. That package also it is going to scan. Are you getting my point? Yes, perfect. Next one, I want to perform auto wiring through annotation. I want to perform auto wiring through annotation. Already we discussed what is auto wiring. Auto wiring with annotations. Can you guys tell me what is auto wiring? What is auto wiring? Can you guys tell me now? Injecting dependent object into target object is called auto wiring. Earlier we used ref attribute. What is the purpose of ref attribute? Manual wiring. Now to perform auto wiring, we will use @auto wide annotation. To perform auto wiring, we will use @auto wide annotation. This annotation, auto wide annotation, we can use at 3 places. Auto wide annotation, we can use at 3 places. What are the 3 places? One is at the variable level. Second one is at the constructor level. Third one is at the method level. That is setter method level. Third one we are using at the setter method level. If you want to perform field injection, then you will go for variable level auto wiring. If you want to go for constructor injection, then you will write auto wiring at the constructor. If you want to perform setter injection, you will write that at the setter method level. Are you able to follow me? Yes. Let me create one more project. File, new, Spring project. That means we will create a Maven project. In the Maven project, we will add Spring dependency. 06 Spring auto wiring. Spring auto wiring application. All of you practiced Maven? Working? Yes. Not working, huh? Edit, apply and close. Right. So form.xml file. Currently, any dependency available? No. Do you know how to add it? Yes. We need to add dependencies. From where it will download? First, it will check in the local. If not available in the local, central repository. Okay. In the previous project, we have already added. Now, let me copy this. Yes, we are able to add the Spring context. Perfect. Okay. Now, let me create this project, right? So here I want to create one interface here. First, I'm going to take in.ashok.it.beans. Okay. So here I want to create one interface. For that interface, I want to create the implementation. Then I will create a target class. So let me take interface as report DAO. I'm creating an interface called report DAO. In this report DAO, I will write one method. Public void generate public void get data. Public void get data. So this is report DAO method. Now this DAO is implemented by two classes. One is Oracle report DAO, Oracle report DAO, Oracle DB report DAO. This is one implementation. Another one is class MySQL DB report DAO. So there are two classes available to implement this interface. Let me implement. Implements what is that report DAO. Implements report DAO and override the method. What is the method available? Get data method is available. System.out.println getting data from Oracle DB. Some dummy message. Getting data from Oracle DB. Similarly, implements report DAO and let's override the same method. Getting data from MySQL database. So system.out.println getting data from MySQL database. Is it raining? Getting data from MySQL DB. So fine. So this is normal Java class. I want to represent this as a Spring Bean. Do you know how to represent this class as a Spring Bean? Yes. Can I use @repository? What is the meaning of @repository? What is the meaning of @repository? To represent this class as a Spring Bean. Now, MySQL DB report DAO. For this also I am using @repository. So this is one implementation class represented as a Spring Bean. This is another implementation class represented as a Spring Bean. Now, I will create one more class with a name called report service. I will create one class with a name called report service. I want to represent this as a Spring Bean. How I will do this? @service. I'm using @service. Now, inject the DAO private report DAO. Private report DAO, that is report DAO. Private report DAO. I'm using report DAO. Now, for this, I want to perform dependency injection. How to perform the dependency injection? By using auto wiring. At how many places I can use this auto wiring? How many places I can use auto wiring? I can use auto wiring at the three places: variable level, constructor level, setter method level. Where I am using auto wiring? Variable level. Okay. Now here I'm writing one method, public void generate report. Public void generate report DAO dot get data. Report DAO dot get data. System.out.println report generated. Something like this. Getting the data and saying that report generated. Okay. Can we see which object will be injected to this variable? Now let me go for a diagram. We'll get the clarity. So here I have a interface called report DAO. I have a interface called report DAO. Here in this we have a method void get data. There is a method called void get data. This interface is implemented by two implementation classes. There are two classes implementing that interface. One is Oracle DAO, another one is MySQL DAO. One class will get the data from Oracle database, another class will get from MySQL database. Assume that Oracle report and MySQL report. Two classes available. Yeah, clear? Next one, I have a target class. What is my target class? That is report service. Report service. In this report service, there is a method void generate method available and report DAO variable is available. One method is available and one variable is available. So report service is having a dependency or it does not have a dependency. Report service having a dependency, it does not have a dependency. Report service having dependency or does not have a dependency. Dependency is there, na? Does it have a dependency or it does not have a dependency? Service. DAO does not have a dependency. Service having a dependency, service does not have a dependency. Can I execute this service method without DAO? That means dependency is there or dependency is not there. Dependency is there or it is not there. Dependency is there. My service class method is dependent on the DAO class method. Service class method is dependent on the DAO class method. DAO is a class or DAO is a interface? DAO is a interface. How many implementations available? There are 2 implementations available. What are those 2 implementations? One is Oracle report, another one is MySQL report. Are you guys able to understand? Here I have a report DAO. For that report DAO, Oracle DB report DAO implementation class available. MySQL DB report DAO class is also available. Oracle DB report is a repository, that means Springboot. MySQL is also as a Springboot. And I have a report service. Service class is having a dependency with the DAO. DAO is a interface. Now, which implementation class object will be injected to this variable? I am doing auto wiring. Auto wiring will happen with by name or by type now. Auto wiring will work with by name or by type now. By name. By name. What is the name of the variable? Is there any bean available with DAO name? Is there any bean available with the name as DAO? Then what it will do? Go for by type. By type, how many beans available? 2 beans available. Which one it will inject now? Ambiguity problem. Whenever you go for auto wiring, always it will check for by name first. With the name of the variable, is there any bean available? With the name of the variable, there is no bean available. Now, let me create the test class and run this class. I'm going for test. Let me start my IOC container. Let me start my IOC container. To start the IOC container, where is the configuration class? Configuration class available, configuration class not available. Configuration class required or not required? Am I using XML or I want to go for annotation? I want to go for annotation. Tell me how to create the configuration class. Right click, new class. I will create the class with a name called app config. I will keep this in the in.ashok package, which is a base package of my project. All the other classes will follow the same package naming convention. How to represent this as a configuration? By using configuration annotation. I want to tell perform the component scanning. How to tell the component scanning? By using component scan. What it will do? It will scan all the packages to identify Spring Beans available in the project. Perfect. I'm able to do component scanning. Perfect. Now go to test class. Test class also I will create in a separate package outside of this. Okay? Right. Let me create this in a separate package. New class. I will go to a package called in.ashokid.test package. Here I will create a class with a name called test. It is used to test my application. Tell me how to start the IOC container. How to start the IOC container? By using application context. Tell me. Application context. Context is equal to new class path XML application. People are not sleeping. Tell me, come on. New annotation. New annotation config application context. What is the class name? App config dot class. What is app config dot class? That is a configuration class. That class is used as a configuration class. Now from this, I want to get the target object. Which is the target object? Oracle is target, MySQL is target, or report service is target? Report service is the target. Do you know how to get the bean object from the IOC? How to get the bean object from IOC? Come on. Context dot get bean. Which bean? Report service dot class. Report service dot class. By using this, I want to get the bean object. Okay. So what it is going to return? Report service object. Report service object it is going to return. Once I have the service object, can I call the method? Yes. Service dot generate report. What this service method doing? DAO dot get data. Which DAO? Whichever is injected to this variable. So now let's go and run this application. Run as a Java application. Now what happened? No qualifying bean available. Expected single bean, but found 2 beans. Boss, here in the observe carefully. In the report service, I have a DAO. What is the name of the variable? DAO. Is there any bean available with the DAO name? Then what it is doing? By type. What is the data type? Interface. For the interface, bean will be available. Interface will have implementations. Interface will have the implementation. How many implementations are there? 2 implementations are available. Which one it has to inject? Ambiguity problem. Are you getting my point? Now, sir, can I use this name for the bean? Yes. At the rate repository, I'm giving the name as DAO. I'm giving the bean name as a DAO. For which bean I am giving that name? Oracle. Okay, let's go here. Run as Java application. Now what happened? So auto wiring with by name is working or is not working? By default, auto wiring is using by name or by type. First it is using by name. What is the meaning of a by name? Here I have a dependent bean. It is having a variable. With this variable name, is there any bean available? Yes. Oracle DB report DAO having the name as DAO. Our target class variable name is also DAO. With this variable, it is able to identify the dependent object. Dependent object injected into target object. So now in the XML, also we can give the bean name. In the annotations also we can give the bean name. How to give the name for the bean? Yes, here like this you can specify the name for the bean. Suppose if I remove the bean name, then it will go for by type, because with this name not able to find the dependent. Then it will go for by type. With the by type, 2 beans are matching. Ambiguity. Now here guys, when there is a ambiguity, if we can resolve the ambiguity in 2 ways. We already discussed. What are those? What are those? One is auto wire candidate. Another one is primary. Here observe, I am having Oracle DAO. For this, I am giving the name as Oracle DAO. For this, what is the name I am giving? Oracle DAO, because it is Oracle DB report. Now for this, I am giving the name as MySQL DAO. For this, I am giving the name as MySQL DAO. So bean name is matching with the variable name. Bean name is not matching with the variable name. Not matching. Now here, still we can specify to identify the bean based on the name. For that, there is an annotation called qualifier. In the qualifier, I will specify MySQL DAO. What is the meaning of a qualifier? You take the bean which is having that name and inject it. If the variable name is not matching, no problem. You go and identify, is there any bean available with this name in the project? You get that bean and you inject that bean into this variable. What is the qualifier I am giving? MySQL DAO. For Oracle, it is Oracle DAO. For MySQL, it is MySQL DAO. Go to the test class, run as a Java application. Which bean is injected? MySQL bean. Am I able to perform by name even though variable name is not matching? Yes. How we are able to perform by name even though variable name not matching? Qualifier. In the interview, they will ask you, what is a qualifier? What is a qualifier annotation in the Spring? What is a qualifier annotation in the Spring? It is used to identify the bean based on the given name. It is used to identify the bean based on the given name. So whenever we have auto wiring, then you can go for @qualifier. Let me write this. So there is a annotation called @qualifier to identify bean based on the given name for dependence for DI. What is the meaning of DI? For dependency injection. Whenever we are performing auto wiring, if you want to identify the dependent bean based on the name, then you can go for qualifier. If you don't want to go with the name, I want to go for by type only, but I want to consider this as a primary. Okay, earlier we have given primary is equal to true. Now we will use the primary annotation. So there are two beans available. One is Oracle bean, another one is MySQL bean. In these two beans, I want to give the priority for the MySQL. Then what I will do? I will write @primary. Then out of these two, which bean will be injected? MySQL. Why not Oracle? For MySQL, I have given the primary. Right click, run as Java application. Which is injected? Suppose for Oracle also, if I give primary, both are having equal priority, then ambiguity problem. If you want to resolve the ambiguity, for only one bean, you should give the primary. It is failed. Now remove the primary from MySQL, then primary is available with the Oracle. Now go to the test class, run as Java application. It is getting the Oracle object. Now here, dependency injection I'm able to perform with the auto wiring by using field injection. Perfect. Suppose if I have public void set DAO, report DAO, this dot DAO equal to DAO. Then what will happen? I will remove from here and I will keep it here. I will remove it from here and I will keep it here. Then which injection will happen? Setter injection. Can I write system.out.println setter method called? Come on, guys. Yes. Why I am writing SOP? To prove setter injection is happening. Go to the test class, run as Java application. Setter method is called. That means the setter injection is happening or not. Auto wire annotation we can use at the variable level and we can use at the method level also. When I use at the variable level, it will perform field injection. When I use at the setter method level, it will perform setter injection. Are you getting my point? Suppose I want to go for constructor injection. Let me write it. Public report service. I am writing report DAO. Now let me write this dot DAO is equal to DAO. So here I am writing @auto wire. Where I am writing the auto wiring annotation? Constructor level. Let me write a SOP statement system.out.println. So here I am specifying report service constructor. test class, right click, run as Java application. Constructor is executed or not? Constructor is executed. What is the meaning of that? Constructor injection happened. Now, can you read this point? To perform auto wiring, we will use @auto wide annotation. @auto wide annotation we can use at 3 places. What are the 3 places? One is variable level, one is setter method level, one is constructor level. If I use at variable level, what will happen? If I use at variable level, what will happen? It is field injection. If I use a constructor level, what will happen? Constructor injection. If I use at setter method level, what will happen? It is going to perform setter injection. Are you guys getting my point? Now, there is one small concept here, guys. I'm removing this. I'm removing, 1 minute. I'm removing this annotation from the constructor. Now, tell me. I'm not writing any auto wiring annotation. I have a constructor. Dependency injection will happen or will not happen? Will happen or will not happen? Will not happen. Happening or not happening? Happening or not happening? Happening. Listen, see here. Report service is a Spring Bean or not? Report service is a Spring Bean or not? Report service is a Spring Bean. That means IOC should create the object for the report service. In order, observe carefully, this is important point. I am representing report service as a Spring Bean by writing @service. So what is the meaning of that? This class I am representing as a Spring Bean. That means IOC should create the object for the class. To create the object, constructor is required. To create the object, constructor is required. How many constructors are available? Only one. Does IOC have any other option to create the object? It has to call this constructor. When it has to call this constructor, it has to pass the parameter. When you have only one parameterized constructor in the target class, auto wire annotation is optional. Are you guys getting my point? Now suppose if I have two constructors, then which one it will call to create the object? Zero param. Dependency injection will happen or will not happen? Will not happen. Now see here, this is param constructor and this is zero param constructor. This is zero param constructor. Now run the application, run as Java application. What happened? By default, it is calling zero param constructor. Dependency injection happening or not happening? Not happening. When the dependency injection not happening, then what will happen? This variable will not be initialized. Then when I call that variable with method, that will become null pointer exception. Now, when you have more than one constructor, now I want IOC to perform the dependency injection with the second constructor. So when you have, observe, when you have more than one constructor, then you need to specify auto wiring, because by default, always IOC will use zero param constructor to create the object. By default, IOC will use zero param constructor to create the object. In this scenario, I don't want to use a zero param. I want to use the parameterized constructor. I am telling to IOC, auto wide, hey, IOC, you create the object using this constructor so that the dependency injection will happen. When it is going to call this constructor, it has to pass the DAO object. So DAO is an interface. So there is one bean and there is second bean. Out of two, it is a primary bean. Variable object will be injected by using parameters constructor. Suppose if I remove this annotation, which object, which constructor it will use to create the service object? Zero param. If I remove zero param, IOC does not have any option. IOC has to use this constructor. When IOC has to use this constructor, it is expecting DAO object. It will pass the DAO. That means by default dependency injection also will happen. When you have only one parameterized constructor, auto wire annotation is optional. They will ask this question in the interview. I am having only one parameterized constructor, auto wire annotation I am not writing, dependency injection will happen or will not happen. If you have only one parameterized constructor, auto wide annotation is optional. Are you guys clear with my point? Yes. So now, how many ways we can perform dependency injection with auto wiring? With auto wiring, variable level, constructor level, and setter method level also. If I use a variable level, come on, man, it is Fi. If I use constructor level, CI. If I use a setter level, SI. Field injection, constructor injection, and setter injection. Are you able to follow me? Yes, perfect. So you understand what is at the rate qualifier and what is at the rate bean? What is at the rate qualifier? What is at the rate bean? And what is at the rate primary? What is at the rate primary? What is at the rate primary? To give priority for the bean to inject, to give priority for the bean for auto wiring. To give priority for the bean for the auto wiring, we are using at the rate primary annotation. Yeah, come on, read these annotations once. Yes, sir. First one is by name. Primary will be considered for by type, right? At the by name only, it is identifying the dependent. Then it will not go for by type. That is used to read the value from properties file into Java. That is different concept. Will come in future. No. It is used to take the value from the properties file into Java class variable. Come on, guys. Please read these annotations. Spring annotations. At the rate configuration, at the rate component, at the rate service, at the rate repository, at the rate scope, at the rate auto wire, at the rate bean, at the rate qualifier, at the rate primary. Getting my point? Yep. All of you, please read. Online people. Difference between component, repository, service. I will explain. I did not cover that concept, Roshni. I will come to that point. Can you give real-time scenarios of CI/SI? I will give that. No problem. I will cover that point also. Okay. Sohini, I will give that answer as well. I will tell you which dependency injection is recommended in the project. Yeah, we are trying to understand the fundamentals. In the future, you will understand which one is recommended, which one is not recommended, all that information. Lakshmi Naidu, if we use both qualifier and primary, what will happen? If you use a qualifier at the by name only, it will identify the dependent. Then it will not go for by type. Okay. Is it mandatory to use component in the configuration class? Right. See here. When I don't use component scan, okay, I am using only at the rate configuration. Let me go for the test class, run as Java application. What is happening? It is not able to identify service as a Spring Bean. So in the configuration class, we need to specify the component scan annotation. Then only it will scan for the classes to identify the Spring Beans. If I don't give the component scan annotation, it is not going to perform the scanning. So component scanning is only my project requirement, every project requirement. In the Spring Boot, they have automated that. You don't need to write that configuration component scan in the Spring Boot. In the Spring, we have to write it. That is what? Lot of configuration we need to do in the Spring. That configuration is reduced in the Spring Boot. Okay. When we go for Spring Boot, this class is not required. This class is not required when we go for Spring Boot. But in the Spring, we have to write it. And in the Spring, here I am starting IOC container. In the Spring Boot, we no need to start it. So whatever the common configurations we are doing, they are eliminated in the Spring Boot. Spring Boot is more advanced concept. It is the extension for the Spring framework. Able to follow me? Before getting into Spring Boot, we will understand some fundamentals of the Spring. I hope most of the fundamentals we have covered already. Now we have the good idea. What is IOC container? What is a dependency injection? What is auto wiring? What is a Spring? What is a configuration? What is a bean scope? What is a singleton? What is prototype? These all are the fundamentals. Same concepts will be used in the Spring Boot also. If you go for Spring Boot, IOC will be available, but we don't start that. Configuration will be available, but we don't write it. So we are going to represent the classes as Spring Beans. Boot is going to start the IOC. IOC is going to create the object. IOC is going to perform the dependency injection. Less configurations we are going to do in the Spring Boot. So whatever the configurations we are doing in the Spring, those configurations are reduced in the Spring Boot. Getting my point? Yes. Yes. So you need to remember what is a component scanning. I'm telling once again, guys, the definition. Component scanning is the process of identifying Spring Bean classes available in the project. So my classes will be available in different packages. So first it is going to scan in the current package. Current package is a base package. After the current package scanning is completed, it is going to scan all the remaining packages also. It is going to scan the remaining packages also. Able to follow this? Now here, with this knowledge, I want to give you one task. We have holiday tomorrow. I want you people to develop one project using Spring plus Spring JDBC. I want you to just insert one record into database by using Spring JDBC, not normal JDBC. Why not normal JDBC? Why not normal JDBC? If I go for normal JDBC, what is the problem? Lot of boilerplate code we need to write it. I don't want to write that boilerplate code. I want to go for Spring JDBC example. I did not explain that. I want you to do research in the Google and you need to implement that. Okay, guys. So what I want to do is here, I want you people to develop one DAO class. Simple example, one user DAO. I want to create a class with a name called user DAO. In the user DAO, I want you to write Boolean save method. I want you to write Boolean save method. It is responsible to insert the record into table. For this DAO interface, create the DAO IMPL. For this user DAO interface, you need to create only one IMPL, not required to implement two classes. One IMPL class I want. One IMPL class I want. In this IMPL class, you should write the logic by using Spring JDBC, not the normal JDBC. I want you to try. That is an assignment for you. I want you to use Spring JDBC. I'm telling you, I have not explained Spring JDBC. Self-learning is most important thing to survive in the industry. Okay. So here you need to do the analysis, how to develop a project by using Spring JDBC. This user DAO IMPL should communicate with the database. This user DAO IMPL should communicate with the database. You can take Oracle database or MySQL database. Who is going to talk to this DAO? Service will be available. Here I want you to create a class called user service. In the user service, I have a method called save user method will be available. User service will talk to a interface. User service will talk to implementation class. It will talk to interface, or it will talk to implementation class. It will talk to interface. This DAO IMPL should talk to my database. Okay. Here I will create a test class. Here I am going to create a test class. In the test class, I will use IOC container and I am going to test the behavior. Application is able to insert the record into database table or not. This user DAO IMPL should use which concept? It should use which concept? Java JDBC or Spring JDBC? It should use Spring JDBC. Your DAO class should have the logic of Spring JDBC. So that is the requirement. I did not explain what is Spring JDBC, how to use it. In the Google, thousands of examples are available. I want you to do some research, Google it, and try to develop that project. If you can do the project on your own, your confidence level will increase. I will up, no need to take a screenshot, man. I will give in the material. Wait. Okay? Here. Are you guys able to follow me? I will tell you how to Google also. Go to Google. Go and type here Spring JDBC example. What you need to do? Spring JDBC example using Maven. Spring JDBC example using Maven. Okay. Table creation. What is the dependency they are adding? Directly he is adding complete Spring framework. All the Spring modules will come. Then he is adding MySQL connector. What is this? Binding class to represent data. Customer class. What is this? Interface DAO. Insert the customer, retrieve the customer. DAO IMPL. What he is doing here? Customer. What is doing now? Data source object. Setting the data source object. Here. What is this code? It is a normal JDBC or Spring JDBC? Normal JDBC. This is not the right example. Spring JDBC example. He told Spring JDBC, he used a normal JDBC. Data source prepared statement. Chat GPT. We should go to Chat GPT. No, man, they have given the example here. This is the example. Okay. They have given normal JDBC example and they have given Spring JDBC example also. I want you to implement with the Spring JDBC. Very less code we need to write with the Spring JDBC. I want you people to perform. Yes, you need to do that. Either you can use ChatGPT or Google, whatever you want. You can use it. But I want you to implement this project before coming to Monday class. Can you guys take this as assignment? Yes. Let me take this. Next level, that is Spring ORM we will use. Yeah, that also you can do. Anything is fine. Yeah. You understand what is my requirement? You should be inserting the record into table by using Spring JDBC. Okay. Perfect. Yeah. Any questions, anyone? Online students, any question? Bean annotation once again. Guys, what someone is asking, what is bean annotation? What is the bean annotation? When you want to customize the bean object, when you go for @service, IOC container will create the object. But for a few classes in my project, I don't want IOC container to create the project. Then in that scenario, I will write the method, I will create the object, I will return that object. I want IOC container to call this method. For that, I am going to write @bean. Then IOC container will call that method. Whatever the bean it is returning, that will, whatever the object my method is returning, that will be considered as a Spring bean. Getting my point? If you use the service, IOC will create the object. If I use the component, IOC will create the object. If I use repository, IOC will use the object. But for my class, I don't want IOC to create the object. I want to create the object. That object should be considered as a Spring bean. For that, we will go for a annotation called @bean annotation. To customize the object creations, we will go for bean annotation. All the annotations we use are the class level annotations. Bean is a method level annotation. Bean is a method level annotation. Clear? Yes. Good. Fine, guys. When we should go for customized object? Surya, it will be coming in the future classes, that is Swagger, security, all those objects, data source object. I want to connect with the database with my credentials. Then I need to customize the data source object. In that scenario, we will go for @bean object. Fine. All of you gone through singleton design pattern video? No? You watched it? What you told? Private constructor, static variable. Have you gone through singleton design pattern video? What is singleton design pattern? Always my class should have only one object. If anybody try to create the new object, it will return the same object. What is the advantage of going for that? Memory utilization. We can save the memory. In the interview, they will ask you to write the code for the singleton class creation. Private constructor, static method, conditional check. If the object is not created, then only we should create and return. If the object is already available without creating, we have to return that. So that is important for the interview. You should be able to write the code also. Okay. Sorry. You can, there are several ways to break the singleton. Okay. Primary annotation, guys. Here, whatever I'm doing here, what is I'm doing here? Primary annotation. What is the meaning of a primary? Priority for the bin. We can use this annotation at the class level and we can use at the method level also. What is the meaning of method level here? I have one method to return the engine object. Suppose if I have another method also to return the engine object. Another method also return the engine object. Get engine 1, get engine 2. Like this, there are two methods available. Out of these two, which one we want to execute? For that also we can do a direct primary. So it can be used at the class level and it can be used at the method level also. All these concepts will come in the future. How to customize the beans, in which scenario we are going to customize the bean in the project, we are going to understand that. In the Swagger, we are going to see. In the REST API, we will understand that concept. Yeah, I will share in our group. Okay. Fine. That's it for today, guys. I'm stopping now. We'll meet in the Monday session. Monday morning, Maven we will complete. Before coming to Monday, you should complete this assignment also. Okay? Thank you. We'll see you on Monday. Bye-bye.